We're on.
Until he shows up, we'll have to stand in.
Where'd Fred go?
Out there. Let me guess, on his phone? No.
Probably had to go past people. Ready?
Sounds like your mom calling.
Never going on that. What is his phone?
Where? What?
What is Fred's phone at?
Doesn't sign with an initial, does he?
I got a couple ideas.
Are they appropriate?
Remember?
It might be recording.
E. Starts with an E.
E?
These two.
Like a board says.
These two are the two that are under old
The big
business.
question is, do we have a coffee pot? Oh. Afternoon.
This is the support letter.
Yeah.
Well, we have an audience here today. Easy with it. Easy with it. You know, Holly used to like me until he got on the board. Now she's on.
Freddie, you have one misconception. Holly never will.
Are we running?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
He's a little late because he was advising me not to speed. Not to speed or speak? Not to. Oh, because he said it's costly.
Good morning. I'd like to officially call this meeting of the Seneca County Board of Commissioners to order for Tuesday, March 24th. Please join us for the pledge. Right in the back.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Kirschner, would you like to lead us in prayer?
Okay. Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you for another wonderful day. We could do with a little less snow, but I think that's probably coming soon. Give us all the wisdom to do your will. And a special birthday, happy birthday to Dr. Jim in the back here. We have a great day. We ask this in your Son, our Lord. Amen.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Stacy?
Here.
Commissioner Zoller?
Here.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Here.
We'll have the signing of the journal, and I'll accept the motion to approve the DVD recording from the previous board session, which was on Tuesday, March 17th, and the index of that meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as that.
Second?
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Approved. Thank you. Any adjustments to the agenda?
I think so. We have a card on here.
Yeah, we've got that listed on the back at 10 o'clock. I have that presentation. Any adjustments?
Just to inform my fellow commissioners that we have a meeting tomorrow with the mayor and the judges. As of this point, the Joint Justice Center, we do not have a Joint Justice Center. Right now, we have a County Justice Center, and tomorrow we're having a meeting to further clarify that whole process and how allocation of expenses will be allocated and so forth and so on. That'll happen tomorrow after our strategic planning process.
So that's not a public meeting, so it's one.
Yeah, matter of fact, I did contact the prosecutor this morning and ask if my fellow commissioners could sit on that, and he said, yeah, as long as we don't deliberate, but he said it would just be so much easier if there's only one there, then there's absolutely no improprieties there whatsoever. So I will inform my fellow commissioners of the outcome of that meeting at the next commissioners meeting that I attend.
And I'm going to put under old business just a very brief EMS update. Not putting you on the spot, Ken, but there's nothing else to mention that we've got one new agreement in those meetings going on. I'll put that under old business. There's nothing else. We do have listed on here to have the COG, the North Central Ohio Council of Governments, speak with us at 10 o'clock here. So, Jim Foley or Dr. Lahosky, who's up?
just, good morning once again, commissioners, administration, and public. We've been meeting for close to 3 years now. We look back on our calendar regarding Justice Center and then a Joint Justice Center. We've had many meetings, and one thing we'd like to say first and foremost is not only the commissioners and the mayor, but the 4 judges here that we have, the municipal judge, Judge Rep, and the 3 county judges have been fantastic to work with. They've put in a whole bunch of time, a whole bunch of their time coming on in between court sessions, on their lunch break, here or there, wherever they can squeeze it in. They've been very gracious to being part of this whole process. We're getting to the very close to some type of resolution on it now. They'll know more tomorrow, talking with the city and with the judges involved. But we're very anxious to be part of the process. We have been part of the process, the Council of Governments, and we feel that we're a very logical partner in this whole process because our goal is to be a regional source for shared services, and what better example of that would be a Joint Justice Center. So we're very optimistic about it. We've had some very good meetings, and we're very close to having more of a full report. We're here also to answer any questions the commissioners might have in a public setting, and we're looking at a different organizational chart, perhaps to manage the overall program and get the things going, up and running for everybody, county and city, if that's the choice.
Well, I think it's interesting. One thing I think we talked about is how long we've actually been working on things. I mean, we've got that Gantt chart there. When did we actually start this process?
The first time we went back in our records, I went back on my calendar, was April of 2012. The first conversations, and when we first started applying for the original LGIF grant, which was we started the application process back in 2012. When we first applied for it, we just called it a courthouse grant, and we were unsuccessful. It was one of the few that we were unsuccessful on, and the state gave us some great guidance on saying, you know what, if you put more of a shared type of facility and had more of the, call it the Joint Justice Center, they actually gave us some working names for it. They were much more optimistic in us achieving a grant to do a study. So we took the whole thing, we kind of flipped it, we got so many more partners involved with it, from downtown businesses to different public entities. The original application for the grant had 3 names on it, NCORCOG, the city, and the county. And then the one that we submitted when we redrafted it later that year in round 5, we had, I believe, 11 participants in it. So that was, the state really appreciated that and gave us the money, and we went forward on that. But I remember meeting one time with you in particular and Doc on a Martin Luther King Day in the morning one time in 2013, I think, when you first took office, I believe. We met just briefly to try to talk and work things out. So there's been so many meetings over the years, but back in 2012, we got involved with it.
Well, I would like to make a statement, and I think that's why it's so important that we're going to this next step as we go through the building process and getting all entities together. Of course, I was elected and started my term in January of 2013, and we met with the judges, and there was Port Authority, and there was a group of us that would meet, and a lot of good people with good intentions. We would meet, we would talk about things, we just couldn't take it to the next level. It's when the COG got involved in the process of really bringing everything together is when we really started making things happen. And I thought your facilitation of that process really helped. Now, with saying that, is now we're going to the next level. We're actually going to start design and the architectural issues and the contracts and the building and all this and all that. I think equally, we have a lot of good people on all these boards, but we need a facilitator, somebody to bring the group together, to assimilate all these different segments. And I think the COG is absolutely, you've proven in the past that there's worth of what you do, and I think that can happen in the future there too. So I am very, very supportive of going to the next level here and dealing with the COG towards this process.
And we look at the project management of the whole thing is, we know the commissioners are very busy. We know the mayor's very busy. He's one of the very active, proactive mayors around in the state for that matter. And in the council, everybody's busy. We look at taking the burden of that work, and then, of course, we are just the facilitators, like you said, and all the decision making will be done by the 3 commissioners, the mayor, the judges, and the city council, of course. They're the decision makers, and we want to make people very aware of the fact that we are just the facilitators, and we're very proud and very happy to be the facilitators, but that's our function.
John, could you explain to me, I'm really, I mean, I've been through personally some building projects and so forth, but, I'm sorry, Holly, go ahead.
No, finish.
But I'd like to understand how your role is gonna be on this and how it all, I mean, I understand the importance of it, but, I mean, as a project, would you be considered the project manager or the facilitator, or what's the terminology? And well, if you're project manager, do you manage the project, the building? I mean, what are the parts of this whole thing?
Yes, and all of those regards. We look at it more as a project manager. We talked before of having Stacy, the county administrator, be very closely involved with that, or on that part of that core group. And just from the get-go going forward, having taken care of all the things, we put out the qualifications, doing the, all that sort of work. We just facilitate getting all that information, but then the decision on who's going to do what, that's the commissioner, the mayor, the council, the judges. That's their decision because they are the elected officials. We just facilitate getting all that information up to a certain point. Then you make a decision. We get all that, all the grunt work, or all the dirty work, all the mundane work. Get that all set to a point where there's a decision that needs to be made. Then you make the final decision. We get it up to that point. That's the best way I can describe it to you. That's how we envision it. But if you envision something else, or would like something else, we'd be more than happy to do that as well. But there get to a point where we can only go so far, but then the decision has to be made by the elected officials, of course.
Dr. Lohosky would like to say something.
If I could.
You may.
Piggyback on what John was saying. We believe we're going to be the buffer for and do the type of work that's going to be transparent, or not out in the public and out in the open. We're going to bring to you the legal type situations that are going to be in there, people to do contracts for you, people that have expertise for the bidding process, to handle all that under one umbrella of the Council of Governments. And again, as John said, the final decision is going to rest with this board. But I don't think, from our standpoint, from our meetings that we had, I don't think you want to involve yourself in the mundane details or the little minutiae that's out there. That's what we hope to handle for you and facilitate that and stay on track very promptly. We talked yesterday, I talked with Kim Fisher. We're going to take copious notes at all our meetings. You'll be given copies of the notes and prepare a notebook for you. You'll have everything you there, and we'll give you a heads up. We'll set the schedule for regular meetings with legal counsel, etc. Obviously, we have a lot of entities to work with, a lot of legal people. We have Attorney Devine, we have Attorney Howard that we need to bring to the table for the respective entities. On one hand, on the other hand, we have our own legal counsel that has great expertise. Just completed I think he said it was a $400,000 project.
$400 million project.
Yeah.
County schools.
Yeah, you can tell like small numbers, maybe millions, thousands, a couple bucks here or there. But he's got the expertise. He's got the wherewithal to do it. He would engage into the architects that we would be bringing to this group for scope of work, for project oversight by these people, the competitive bidding process. We would lead that for you, and again, all working through your legal counsel as well. So that's what we hope to accomplish for this group, and it's going to be very important. And as we mentioned yesterday, it's going to be highly scrutinized, and we understand that. That's why we want to make sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's and make sure it's right for these folks.
From the one comment that I would make is what I've been involved in up to this point. You don't always need to know everything, but you need to know who to contact to find out everything. and it seems to me that the COG has a number of contacts. We met yesterday, and the council that was there was very good. I was impressed with the fact that we talked through a number of issues, you know, just such things as whether it's going to be a design build, or whether it's going to be a contract for the building with the project manager. A number of issues like that that we probably would get to, but we wouldn't get to nearly as quickly. I guess the point that I'm making is the COG is going to flatten the learning curve for us in this situation to the point where we could be a lot more efficient.
And I guess, and this is all kind of hinged in the conversation sounding as if the city's in, and we know that decision has not been made yet. But it's the direction, obviously, that was an open invitation. We want them to be part of this, because we want it to be a joint justice center. And so, obviously, when we have that decision, then we'll know a lot more.
Sure.
And I know it is set up that, you know, we can interchange out the commissioner there, and I think I will want to do that because I want to be at that table at some point too. I know you'll share information, but there's just stuff that, you know, you can't help but have questions if you're not hearing parts of it and, you know, being actually active in part of it. So that'll be nice that we can do that as well.
Well,
Commissioner, if I may please, we're gonna bring those people with that expertise to your table. Okay, we don't have all the answers, we don't profess to have all the answers, but just as recently as last night, okay, there's a gentleman that's actually done a significant number of projects in Ohio that we can bring to the table for interviews to get the appropriate fit, to make sure the chemistry is correct between the entities, between the commissioners, between the city, between the COG, between all players, and just make sure that there's a good linkage, that there's a high level of trust developed, that you can count on us, and that's what we're heading for. So I really not only appreciate your comments, Holly, but I would expect that from our commissioners to want those questions answered and just allow us to be the facilitator to make that happen for you. So I appreciate that very much from all of you.
And that's a wonderful idea on your part for some of these meetings, that they're monthly meetings at first, because there's a lot of information at first. Later on, probably more like a quarterly thing. But at first, if one commissioner, you guys can draw straws on who goes to that. And it'd be nice to see that rotation process of the commissioners. They stay right informed and can be there. Yesterday we had Commissioner Kirchner there. It was fantastic. Commissioner Zoller's been sitting on a lot of them. But that's a wonderful idea, way to think about it, that kind of a rotating basis of commissioners at these meetings to stay, you know, right there informed, completely informed.
Right, there's a number of things that, as we start work, if the city is part of this with us, is back to the issue we brought up a long time ago, the ownership of the building, how that works out, and that changes how some of those things, you mentioned a lot of people having approvals on it, well, who owns the building, but we're just, you know, that's the cart too far, the cart before us at the moment, but those
That's
things.
a legitimate question that's
Right.
gonna need answered.
But from my standpoint, I would like to call it, and the invitation is there, and very heartfelt that the city come in with us. But even if that doesn't happen, I would still want the COG to be the facilitator of this.
We would be honored to do that. And thank you very much for your time today.
Okay, one last question. We understand there are no free lunches in this world, and there's a great deal of expense that you will incur. And from what I understand, and I just need clarification on this, that part of the $500,000 zero interest loan that we have for 12 years, there is a portion of that is earmarked for the service that you'd be providing. Is that correct? Or is this?
For the services from the architect and one other one, John.
Architecture, engineering, and program management, correct?
Okay.
That's built into that.
So we're not talking about something that the commissioners or that the city council needs to appropriate additional funds for. That is already included in that
That is correct.
zero
Yes.
interest loan.
Assuming it's a joint justice center, otherwise we don't get that zero
Yeah,
interest
yeah,
loan, so-
yeah,
so
that's a
the
good
city
point.
makes their
That's a good
decision
point.
to join us.
Yeah, that money is dependent upon it being a joint justice center for that amount of money there, that $500,000.
I know I'm getting the cart ahead of the horse, but I'm very confident that the city is gonna do the right thing. They're gonna come in.
Well, I hope so.
It'd be the first in the state, it'd be one of the first ones we know in the nation for municipal and county court in the same building facility. It'd be a
Well, and there may very well be the possibility of some additional grants for low interest loans on other programs out there. And again, I feel more confident that the COG would be able to locate those and implement those, the application process and hopefully get those to us. I have spoken with the economic development people, and there are some other programs out there that hopefully we can find some additional money, either low interest or a grant.
Well, and we'll wrap up here, but just in a nutshell, we were very successful with the, we did not get the compressed natural gas, but we're going back after that, okay, we did not get that one. And that was about a $4 million project, we're going after it again, okay, but we did get the tower program, the wireless program, we got $600,000 for that, $600,000 for the Joint Justice Center, so, we're bringing some significant money in, and we do have good grant writers. They do a great job, and, if we find a grant, boom, we're going to be on it. If you find a grant, let us know, we'll get on it.
I've got 3 of them, I'll forward to you.
Please.
Talk about that.
Please.
That was my thought.
No, I don't think so.
That was my thought too. I know that I've read some correspondence between Karen Bowers at SIDEC, and she's done a tremendous amount of research on that, and I would strongly recommend that you reach out to her
We could do that.
so that, again, it's at least facilitated by, we don't want to have redundancy here.
Understand. Thank you very much, unless there's any other questions. Anybody? Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
I have dyslexia, okay, so my age is 36. I just want you It's the best thing.
If I do that, I'm not old enough to vote.
It's really not your birthday, it's your birthday anniversary.
You don't.
I would think it's going to have some draft resolution if we were going to move that route too.
Like you
Make
just
sure we get
was a
everything
good
in.
year.
I would think that.
It was a good year.
Back, right?
What are we
We were just wondering if we needed a motion to, I think until we know what the cities do, I guess I'd rather have the cities answer, so we know, and if not, word it appropriately, not that we won't do it otherwise, but
Okay. You want to wait till we see if the city is coming there or not before we legally contract with the car.
it would make the resolution cleaner.
Okay.
Never
And,
gonna work
and
on
not
that.
that we,
Well-
again, not that we won't consider it otherwise, but it, yeah, it's just the clarity of the resolution.
My sense is that I would like to go forward with it if possible, because I believe that from my standpoint, I'd like to use the cog, whether it is, I hope that it's a joint justice center, but in any event, I don't want to really lose any momentum here. Keep it on, keep the meetings going, and, I think it would exude more confidence to the city, frankly, if they knew that these folks were involved.
Can we make a motion with or without the city's interaction with this, that we are contracting with the COG to perform these functions?
I suppose we
So,
can,
Should we get the contract first? Yeah. Before we agree to a contract, should we get a contract first?
Rather than make a motion, why don't we just, I would like to just say that we are looking forward to working with the COG. I think that we got to move forward with all the meetings and, keep the process rolling. And our full intention, or at least my full intention, would be to, contract with them once the contract is put together and either if a decision is or isn't made regarding the joint center, that they would be the people that facilitate that.
It just doesn't make sense if we can see the contract and that's that first, but I agree with you, I don't have a problem with working with.
The contract for the COG to us,
Yes.
and so that our prosecutor can review it, and then at that point, we can make a resolution.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and jump on a contract right away and begin the process for it, and we'll submit it to you for your legal counsel and go from there. But we'll have ours drafted up that will articulate the scope of work, what all is going to be done, be very thorough, concise, and hopefully have that to you very shortly.
Yeah, and I would just put in there with her, singly or with the city, so that we have the option either which way.
Yes,
Again, I feel very confident that it is, but, that hasn't, nobody signed on that.
we've had a good working relationship with the city, so hopefully that's gonna maybe hold some water as well.
And I'd like to convey my thanks for all the work you guys done up to this point, not much of it for very little, nothing. And I certainly appreciate you keeping us on track, and it's a good feeling to know from my seat that we do have somebody assisting us in moving this project forward. Thank you.
My pleasure.
We'll go to old business, two things listed here. I added the EMS update because I just want to indicate there was some coverage in the paper because as our various districts have been working on improving the current situation of having volunteer-based ambulance services, Pleasant Adams and Village of Green Springs have recently had public meetings. Anything you want to add, Ken? I know we were at some of them, Mike and I were at the one last night, you were there, the first one they have another one tonight. That and or the fact that
Sure, what we've gotten accomplished, if we'll focus on the positive just for a few. Last year, we started the initiative to move towards collaborative agreements with joint ambulance districts. I think we've all heard me talk about that a lot. So we've been successful in forming 4 joint ambulance districts, and the purpose of that was to establish a collaborative agreement between local elected leadership and the county government. So we were successful in that area in 4 places: Attica, Venice, and Reed, Newrigo, Big Spring, Seneca, Jackson, Liberty, and Bettsville, and then the established district of Bascom, which is Hopewell and Loudon Township. We're hoping for a few more, because what we're aiming for is to keep a 24/7 staffed ambulance in all 7 of the squad districts at the lowest cost possible. The average levies that are being passed are 1 to 1.2 mil, and for our run volume and what we do, that seems to be enough in most of those areas. A few of our areas, and you mentioned specifically Green Springs, Pleasant, Adams Township, they're seeking significantly more funding for that to do a private ambulance contract, which would have to be bid, and it's probably going to take some time.
as one of their options.
That is one of their options. So we're in discussion with those folks, and they're doing the public meetings now. Also, Bloomville and Republic are also doing some public information meetings that are coming up very soon. And those are the districts that have not formed the district yet: Green Springs, Pleasant, Adams, Republic, Scipio, Bloomington Township. So that's where we are. Overall, over the past year, I think we've been very successful in what we've set out to do. And the manning has increased significantly. The volunteer workforce has increased significantly. And make no mistake about it, volunteer is a big word, so it's compensation. It's what's bringing folks out. We've already paid for training. The county bears a huge burden of the cost on that, and but the townships and the municipalities out there bear the burden of the manpower. So we ride every day on the backs of the volunteers, and I think that's a big thing to remember, and make sure that we say thanks when you see them, because they're what keeps us safe. So,
Yeah, just as a review real quick, what are the county's responsibilities when it comes to the ambulance districts, and what do the local?
The county's responsibility towards the districts is providing the equipment and infrastructure. So we provide the ambulance, all the equipment, all the supplies, the day-to-day administrative detail, as well as compliance and education. Education is a big component of it. I mean, I'm personally the program director for our education training system that we have here. Most of it is done right here in this room, or at the districts themselves. So there's an immense amount of time and the associated cost with the education of maintaining more than 100 volunteers. That's a pretty sizable crew. So the county's responsibility is primarily funding and infrastructure. So we keep the ambulances full of fuel, maintained, fleet ready at all times, and the crews educated and up to speed on the latest technology, as well as evidence-based medicine is what the way we practice our craft. So at the district level, they provide those personnel for us to train and utilize in the day-to-day operations. Volunteers, once again, that's a big word. They are professionals. These guys are paramedics. A lot of them are nationally registered paramedics. They're very marketable, and most of them do this job professionally at one of the local area, either private ambulances or municipal ambulances that employ paramedics. We have a great deal of nurses on staff that we cross-train. like me, for example, I'm a nurse, a lot of our crews are nurses. People that live in the community, that want to serve their community, see it as an opportunity to help their community through their education and training.
Well, I think the point to be made, or at least from what I've seen in the short time I've been here, is that everybody is on the same page with this thing as far as what the goal is. And that is to get an ambulance to the site of accident, injury, illness as quickly as possible. People differ in the methodology they think that needs to be used to do that, but everybody's goal is the same, and that's a good thing. We're all on the same page with that. It's an emotionally charged issue in some places, and therefore sometimes it's difficult to sift through that to get to the real solution. Ken has done a great job in coming up with a temporary solution for the Green Springs situation, and hopefully there will be a permanent solution to that. They're doing their due diligence. I mean, they're meeting with all the population and open meetings over 3 weeks, trying to determine what is palatable to the general public as far as a possible tax increase. But Holly answered some good questions last night at the VFW there, and we as commissioners, take this very seriously because it's certainly more important than a lot of people talk about. We want to make certain that somebody's on site as quickly as they can possibly be. And Ken and his crew do a wonderful job throughout the county, so hopefully we can all come up with a good solution because we all believe the end game is the same, to do as good a job as we can.
I think we certainly created a lot of awareness that, like they were discussing last night after the meeting, a couple of them said, well, now when I travel somewhere, I'm thinking, wow, if an accident happened right here, and I, don't know what, they may be in another state, wherever they might be, and you just assume someone's going to help. And so I think the awareness and the level of appreciation for those in the line of work has escalated.
Yeah, the volunteers, we can't say enough. I mean, there's just no words to describe the fact that these folks give their time. Sometimes a little bit of a stipend, but most of the time it's pure volunteer. God bless them.
Well, another thing I think that I'd like to have a little clarification, because I keep hearing, it was in the paper again this morning about, so why don't we mimic Sandusky County? And just for clarification purposes, and correct me, the cost to the taxpayers of Seneca County to run our EMS system is roughly in the $300,000 range of the general fund.
Less than half a million.
Okay, and in Sandusky County, it's in excess of $2 million.
2.4.
Okay, so it's obvious that the volunteers save, not only what they're doing is good for society, but they're saving the taxpayers of Seneca County substantial amounts.
And I've been asked that question at a few of the township meetings because that's kind of a loaded question. There's really, the county budget is just about $500,000. Now, what the townships and the villages absorb, their budgets may be $100,000 for personnel or $120,000 for personnel. Combined. So a lot of them don't, they generate a millage that'll generate them about $60,000 to $80,000 so that they can pay their compensate their volunteers a small stipend, like Commissioner Kirschner said. It's basically a compensation for their time and effort. The one that we've used most recently is what the Baskin Joint Ambulance District started using about 15 years ago, is $3.50 an hour for an on-call compensation rate. Whether that's effective or not, like I said, I'm a medically trained and educated person, so we use evidence to make all our judgments. The evidence is showing that they're in service 100% of the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, most of the time with 2 ambulances. So it's effective. It's been proven to be effective, and it is a very big cost-saving measure. EMS, fire, and police are public safety. We are public safety. The value far exceeds the cost. Far exceeds. So without it, I don't think we can go with it. That's a ... You don't want to think about without it.
The alternative is Sandusky County mimic their system at 2 point whatever.
And as I know you recall, because I think you're the guy that lit the fire under me to start it. When I came back here, May of 13, my very first thing was to get it on paper and to submit to you a realistic approach to solving the EMS problem in Seneca County. One of the projected proposals was a full-time EMS system. And the cost would be close to $2 million, but we would also be decreasing the number of squads that we have. You know, we talked about a 4-squad model, we talked about a 5-squad model, we talked about a 2-squad model with an Echo full-time, and we talked about many different options. The option that we've moved forward with is the joint ambulance district model, which is a collaborative effort between the local governments and the county government. A shared service model, which is in keeping with the state's recommendation and guidelines for shared service. So I think what we're doing is the right thing to do, and it's proven to be effective.
But I want to make sure everybody understands, our response times, from what I've understood, are still below national averages.
Right. The national average for response times for ALS ambulance is about 12 minutes.
I mean, people were complaining because it was like 9 minutes in a few of the cases.
Right. 9 minutes is an acceptable ALS response time. In the city of New York, which it's kind of not a fair comparison, the metropolitan area, takes considerably longer than that. LA County in Los Angeles, also not a fair comparison. Not comparing apples to apples, far exceeds that.
But I mean, stuff happens in these cases. We had a situation last night where they talked, there is, which one of the townships has a full-time paid ambulance service, and Green Springs had to
Thompson.
go back up.
Thompson Township last night.
Yeah, Thompson Township. So even when you have 24/7 private full-time, stuff happens.
Absolutely. And there's no guarantee that the ambulance won't already be servicing another person. In my business, we call it when it rains it pours, because when one call happens, many calls happen. Right now, there's 5 fire departments fighting fire. Right this very second. So if another fire were to come in right this minute in one of the villages that those fire departments came out of, it would seriously tax our system.
So, I mean, there is.
That's not uncommon.
System. That's the point.
And we have mutual aid, and we do a lot of things to help each other, and we do that across the board, whether they're private paid, or if they're volunteer, or if they're career tax-based. We watch each other, we take care of each other, and we do the best we can. My main focus towards this is to keep costs low, however be effective. And then I believe that our mission is a 911 only system, a paid ambulance service, which I have nothing against. Their primary mission is to make a profit. So therefore, they're going to take non-emergency transports of any kind, appointments, those kind of things. We respond to emergencies only. We're not in it for the money, we're in it for the safety.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just
I'll be at the meeting tonight.
an update, Mr. Kirshner, Ken and I went to New Regal on, I want to say, March 3rd, and they have the new agreement. They're reviewing the new agreement. Holly, Ken and I went over to Bascom on the 18th, and if you see on the agenda today, they have signed the agreement, so that's a positive thing. Bascom has signed the agreement. We'll be passing that today.
That's really what I came up here to talk about.
And then Fred, Ken, and I will be going to Attica tomorrow to present the contract to Attica, so they'll have it as well. So those positives, they're signing the new contracts. We'll have the new boards with an updated contract. I think that's a positive for all of us.
I think our intention with that was to bring the contract out of the 1970s and into the new millennium, and it includes a lot of the language that currently the way we do it. The old agreement is fine, much like the Constitution of the United States was signed 200 years ago, is still very valid. The old agreement is still very valid, but the new agreement uses new terminology, discusses the way we do things now, eliminates a few of the old things that we don't do anymore, EMS Advisory Council, and it also brings the sheriff on board as a signer because he is in control of dispatch. So that wasn't in the old agreement.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
The other thing under old business was the indigent defense reimbursement rate, and this was in support for some legislation that's been introduced in the State House, and to try to get the reimbursement rate back to 50% from the state. It got pushed to the counties. The state used to fund it. I don't know all of the history, but got to the point that the state was doing 25%, or yeah, 25%, and this was another step to get it to 50%. So to get it back to not being as much on all of the counties in the state. So I don't know if we got the letters. Did we get the letters?
We got a
Yes.
letter and a
And a
resolution.
resolution.
Okay.
And,
Is that listed in the resolution?
Caterers here.
No.
we can do that now.
You can
Okay,
bring
we'll
it
do
in.
that one now, because we brought it up last week, but they were, the County Commissioners Association had some more information to get to you or something, so.
So what a resolution is basically showing our support and asking for the restoration of the indigent defense reimbursement rate to 50%. And we have a letter for Mr. Reineke from the board for that request. So that would be the resolution.
Motion.
Second.
A motion and a second, any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kirschner,
Yes.
Commissioner Zoller,
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy.
Yes, approved. Thank you. All right, we'll move to new business and report the bill vouchers.
I have bill vouchers 39 through 43. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriation for the Sheriff's Commissary Fund 028, putting $22,144 into equipment. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriations to the County Road 30-2.31 Bridge Rehabilitation Fund 216, putting $539,872.33 into the Bridge Rehab Fund. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriations for the Juvenile Programs and Services Fund 176. We're putting $2,000 into contract services. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriations for the Community Corrections SFY 12 Fund 143, putting $1,578.36 into other expense. I have an appropriation adjustment within the general fund, moving $8.12 from document supplies to other expense. And this is at the request of the recorder's office. I have a resolution authorizing the Seneca County Board of Commissioners to enter into a contract with Ohio Bridge, U.S. Bridge for the Seneca County Road 30-2.31 Bridge Rehabilitation Project, LPA 1400. I have a resolution waiving the annual 3% residential sewer user fee increase for the year 2015 only in Seneca County Sewer District, Hammer Heinzman, and Honey Creek. Recommendation of our sewer district manager. I have a resolution entering into an emergency medical services agreement with Bascom Joint Ambulance District on behalf of Seneca County EMS, retroactive to March 18th, which is the date that Bascom signed. And I have a resolution authorizing the 4D services contract between Seneca County Common Pleas Court 1, Common Pleas Court 2, Juvenile Magistrate, Clerk of Courts, Seneca County on behalf of the Seneca County Department of Job and Family Services. I have a resolution amending the board's orders for December 17th, 2013, Journal 89, page 670 and 671. This is authorizing expenditures for public safety. This is a contract that we do every 3 years. Being we are doing the contracts now with the districts, the auditor's office asked me to amend some of the wording, basically just changing it from like Bascom Squad to Bascom Joint Ambulance District. So it's none of the amounts have changed in this. It's just the wording to cover, and this will be in effect through 15 and 16. And that just lays out some of the training and the housing and the ambulance expenses, workers' comp, what we give for each of our squads. I have a resolution amending the board's orders for March 6, 2015, Journal 91, page 100. Resolution establishing the rates for 23 and 224 sewer system effective January 1st. I think the only reason we had to amend it is because we didn't put it retroactive to January 1st, and Mark had asked for that. So And that's all the resolutions I have.
There's a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the resolutions as just outlined.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve resolutions as stated. Any comments or concerns? I'll just make one, a couple, one on the waiving of the annual 3% of resident. Where's this going here? And that's hard. Where we've got residential sewer user fee increases was recommendation of the sanitary engineer, which is just nice that we're able to do that because he will maintain monies for maintenance and things like that, but when he's got enough for coverage of those things, then he's not going to collect money he doesn't show the need for. And so we appreciate that those taxpayers will not have that increase coming. And I guess just the other one, just be nice that we've got the one agreement signed with that. Any other discussions? Okay, if not, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes.
Commissioner Zoller?
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes. All approved, thank you. To an opportunity for citizens' comments at this time, and we can take those. I'll ask that you please take your name and affiliation, just because our meetings are all recorded. That's the camera here. If you want to be on, you have to come up front. Otherwise, just speak loud enough that they'll hear. And do we have any citizens' comments at this time? Anybody?
I'd like to know, my name's Steve Smith.
Okay.
I'd like to know what is known about this ET Rover pipeline, when the safety issues or anything. This thing, how can I put it? We're one of them that the thing's going through. We don't believe much what they say. I'll just refer to them as a weasel. I don't believe anything. And I think people should know it. This pipeline isn't a normal pipeline. There's going to be 2 42-inch pipelines through Seneca County. I was in a meeting with people from the pipeline company. One from was Louisiana, one was from Colorado. Some of the commissioners may know who I'm talking about. And I asked him, I said, well, if I rewrite, this pipeline coming through Ohio is the largest pipeline project ever in the state of Ohio. And I said, oh yeah. Matter of fact, it's bigger than the Keystone Pipeline project. And by the way, it is the biggest pipeline project ever in the history of the United States. That come from the people from the pipeline company. This pipeline had 1,440 pounds of pressure. You take natural gas and compress it to 1,500 pounds. And we'll compress that natural gas 600 times. If there's ever a leak in that pipeline, figure the expansion of a 1-foot square hole in that pipeline. It's going to expand into 600 cubic feet real fast. Now, there's different projects around and stuff. And the volume going through there, I have been at meetings. I was the one in New Washington, Ohio. And if you don't believe me, you can call down Washington, D.C. at FERC. When I stood up and asked questions of FERC, the first question I asked is, where do you get your funding for to operate FERC? I was told by them that they're allocated out of Congress, their fundings, and they receive no direct payments from pipeline companies. That was a $68 million lie, they told me. Anyone can punch an FERC, put ACA behind it. You come up with the charts of the pipelines of where FERC charges them so much per decatherm of energy passed through that pipeline. FERC themselves will make $1.75 million a year off this pipeline. They're going to make $200 an hour, and they won't even tell me the truth. Of course, that's Washington D.C. Washington D.C. I don't think many people do believe what comes out of that area. Now, I also requested or told them that in my easement, that 60-foot permit right-of-way they got, any digging got to be done on my property over 18 inches deep FERC is gonna have to own trucks and trailers and backhoe and people. And that 60-foot width, they're gonna do the digging on their own. Because they're the experts. Farmers have hit some pipelines, contractors hit pipelines, but this is a big pipeline and 2 of them. Now, in my remarks, Ohio Farm Bureau was there. They put in their letters to FERC, Ohio Farm Bureau is requesting that all 800 miles of this pipeline be handled that way. Just to add increased safety to it. That's all they preach is safety, safety, safety. We've dug around a lot of Columbia Gas pipelines. They come out and probe it and mark it. They sit there and watch it. And when I gotta dig around, I do the digging, or my contractors gotta do the digging, while they're up there in the trench watching you do the work. They have no expense in it. I would at least hope our county commission would pass some kind of resolution in this county. It'd be the same way. We don't want contractors and we don't want farmers digging around this pipeline. If you want 60-foot easement, E.T. Rover must do all the digging at all their expense. That's safety. When they go underneath the roads, I think they gotta have a heavier gauge pipe. But out in the rural areas, it's not as heavy a pipe. Why don't we have this heavy pipe on our farms and everything? They don't care about safety. From what I read, FERC has nothing to do with safety. They more or less just say, is there demand for this gas? Which there is. Safety isn't a thing, that's up to the pipeline company. These people don't care. There's 3 homes in this pipeline in Seneca County are gonna be located 200 feet or less from this pipeline. One is a landowner and a farmer. 2 of them are private homes. One's gonna be right along 53. These people have no say in this because the pipeline isn't gonna be in their property. It's just gonna be close enough that they don't have to deal with it. How many of you people want a pipeline 200 feet or less running by your home? So my easement's gonna have it. I'll be in court before I ever sign an easement.
I appreciate it.
Biggest pipeline project in the United States history, and this thing is just about top secret. This 12-inch pipeline went through the county. There are some older people didn't want to fuss, hire a lawyer, argue about it. They took their first offer. It was chump change compared to what they could have got.
I appreciate you.
These people will walk over anybody. Thank you for your time.
I appreciate you sharing your comments and concerns. Pipeline people had shared maps information with us, as I do believe they did several other county-related offices, not just the Commissioner's office. And I know our EMA director has and will be attending, we were just communicating with him about that last week, a safety type meeting that's being held real soon. I don't exactly remember where, but it might have even been here in Seneca County. I think it's coming up in April, early April. And so I know they're aware of things. I can't speak for them. I don't know if there's anything else anybody else wants to add, but it's.
If I may, I can't believe they're putting this kind of a pipeline within a couple 100 feet of electrical transmission. None of you live around them towers, but you know what them towers are? A real big lightning rod. I've been around them on one farm. When they hit them towers, believe me, it's nothing like you heard before. It rattles the windows. You think it's gonna blow out a house. They got a gas leak. Any chance that thing will explode? Electricals, substations.
And I know we've addressed by a letter, previous Board of Commissioners, before Commissioner Kirschner was on, and talking to the folks about some additional aid for equipment for our emergency medical services for EMS, because of, the demand. If we, I don't know if we could begin to touch it, but if there was some type of emergency and have that. So if nothing else, we're going to wrap up this meeting unless there's anything else to add that we've gotten. Okay.
I've asked a question too, if there happened to be a 1-foot rip in that pipeline, and it ignite, what would be the burn area radius? With that kind of, 1 cubic foot to 600 cubic foot. Is it gonna burn and incinerate everything within 500 or 1,000? And if it happens, the pipeline, well, we got insurance, we'll just pay what it takes. That's all I got to say.
Thank
I
you.
hope people think about it.
Does anyone else have anything for citizens comments? Not, I'll take a motion to adjourn since we're gonna move into our strategic planning session.
Seconded.
A motion and a second to adjourn, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Thank you very much.